If you want to feel more confident, using your body in the right way absolutely matters. Your posture, your breath, your voice, all of that plays a critical role. But there's another layer that a lot of people easily miss, and that is your language. Because the way you speak influences how you think, and the way that you think really impacts how you actually show up. I've worked with so many speakers who look confident on paper, they're smart, they're capable, they're in this incredible job, and they've got genuinely valuable ideas, and then they'll say softeners like, this might not make any sense to you, or I'm not an expert, but... And in that moment, something massive shifts. Their confidence takes a huge drop. And it's not because they lack the ability or the expertise, but it's because the language that they use does not align with their skills, their talent, their expertise, and it undermines them. And a lot of us actually do this by accident, or we do it when we're trying to be polite. We soften what we say. We don't want to come across as too direct. We don't want to seem rude. We cushion our words, and in the process, we dilute what we're saying. And it feels like in that instance, it's the right thing to do, but often it has the opposite effect. So a really simple shift is to pause and ask yourself, what is my goal here? And what is the clearest way for me to express this right now? Because that question alone starts to clean everything up instantly. I learned a lot about the power of brevity when it comes to the words that we use in stand-up comedy, because instead of expanding and fleshing and putting softeners and cushioning, all of that, in comedy you actually do the opposite, because every single word matters, every beat matters. Your word choice makes a massive impact, and if you have too many words, you totally dilute the punchline and it can get lost. You might slow the rhythm down, and you can totally weaken the impact of a really good joke because you've got just and like and but and all of the words that you don't actually need. So in comedy, you become very ruthless with your editing, and that is a really good skill to have in life, because an audience doesn't care about how much you actually say. The only thing that matters, especially in stand-up, is what's actually going to land. And this shows up in everyday work life as well, because you might prepare a 30-minute presentation and suddenly you're told you've got 15 minutes because the agenda's behind and the meeting before was running late, and you somehow managed to squeeze the most important stuff in the 15-minute bracket even though you planned for 30. So we can all cut, we can all simplify, we can all get to our key points much faster. And in the process, we generally tend to communicate way more clearly than we would have if we had twice the amount of time. You know, cutting words almost instantly makes you feel more confident because it removes the noise and the fluff. And in the process, your thinking becomes clearer, your delivery becomes cleaner, and your message becomes much stronger. And then you start to trust what you're saying because it's direct and there's less chance of confusion. Now, you don't need to overhaul everything, but really small shifts are going to make a big impact. So start by replacing the word but with and. But is it's like an eraser. It cancels everything that came before it. Whereas if you say and, that builds on it and it actually keeps your ideas connected and flowing instead of contradicting yourself in the middle of the sentence. Also, remove the word just, because if we say, I just wanted to add, or I'm just checking in on, it lowers the impact of your presence and your message in the process. So take out the word just, and then your sentence is going to have more power to it. And also take out the words I think, because you either do certainly think this or you believe it, in which case you don't actually need those words. If you're sharing an opinion, it's already implied, whereas if you say I think, it softens the certainty, and then that softens the actual confidence. So a really good way to phrase it instead is to say, here's what I recommend, or I believe this situation is the best one to do. You just want to state the idea clearly, because it really gives off the impression of clarity and confidence, which makes you feel better in the process. And also cut any apologies that aren't necessary. A lot of the time we say sorry when we just don't need to. You know, people don't analyze the words that you choose line by line, but they feel the certainty with which they're delivered and expressed. Or they feel the hesitation with which they're delivered and expressed, and then they respond to that. So when your language becomes more clear and more intentional, your confidence becomes more present and stronger and more powerful and embodied, and people can actually feel that and then they respond to that. And you know, confidence isn't something that you wait to feel before you actually speak. It's something that you build through the language that you actually use. So next time you're about to say something, pause and ask yourself, what is my goal here? And what is the clearest way for me to express this? Because in that process, you'll realize there's other words, filler words or softener words that could have snuck in that you don't actually need there. And when your words become sharper, your presence becomes stronger, you feel better about your own expression, and people don't just hear you, they believe you. Thanks for watching and listening.